first of all, I want to say how much I admire your work and your ministries, and your also appreciate your friendship and all that we have. So I'm going to quit talking. I'd like people to meet you briefly before we begin to kind of go around the horn and answer some questions. So I'll turn it over to Shan if you want to say a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Hey, everybody. I'm really happy to be with you today and hope to meet you in person sometime. I'm Pastor Shannah McAleer, and I'm the minister at St. Paul United Church of Christ in Eudora, Kansas, which is about 15 minutes outside of Lawrence, between Lawrence and Kansas City. And we're a small family-oriented church, about 30, 35 people, and generational. We celebrated our 150th year this year. So they hired and fully welcomed a very open LGBT pastor, and I've been happy there for the last 6 years. So,
thank you so much, Kayla.
Sure.
Hi, everybody. I'm Reverend Kayla Bonewell. I serve 2 open and affirming churches in Oklahoma City in the same building, Cathedral of Hope, which is just celebrating our 20th anniversary this summer, and Church of the Open Arms, which is 23 years old. Yeah, that's where I am.
Thanks so much for being here. And Michael.
Good morning. My name is Pastor Michael, and I am pastor at Peace United Church of Christ in Alma, Kansas, which is probably about 30 minutes west of Topeka. I've been there for about a year and a half. I just graduated from seminary with my Master of Divinity degree just about a month ago. So I'm brand new to all of this and super excited to have this conversation this morning.
Well, thank you all for being here, and it's a true pleasure. You're all a tremendous asset to our conference and to the United Church of Christ and to the world. So I sent them a list of questions. We'll just kind of dive in. I want them to do most of the talking today, but this is probably a very straight person question because I can't really, I don't know that I ever woke up and just said, man, I feel straight today. But
Me neither.
Yeah, I bet. So that's funny. So when did you first realize? I mean, maybe it was gradual, but was there a point in time where you go, I realized I wasn't straight, or maybe I was in some way non-binary or LGBTQ? And so anybody want to jump in?
Well, I'll go in the order, I guess, that we were. Originally in 2nd grade, I recognized that I definitely was not like the other little girls. And I actually got in trouble in 2nd grade. The teacher came to my parents' home and spoke to them about my aberrant behavior of preferring to be around and play solely with little boys and not relating to little girls like all the other little girls. So that was the first hint. And then I suppose in about 6th grade is when I thought, oh, wow, yeah, this is really different, and started looking up in the dictionary, what am I? And was horrified by seeing what homosexual the dictionary said back when I was in 6th grade, because I'm in my 60s now. And all the other little girls, were looking at movies and falling in love with the male character, and I wanted to be the male character. So that was very early on. And fortunately, I had parents that didn't pressure me any direction. It was whatever I wanted to do is what I did.
All through high school, I had a pretty heteronormative life. I went to college and met some lesbians at the campus ministry, at the United Methodist campus ministry, and ended up having a crush on one of them and realized that there was more going on for me. And so I've had different labels, I guess, applied to me throughout my life. But the one that I really kind of identify with right now is queer. So I, that's a word that's been taken back. It used to be derogatory, but now it's empowering. And really, it's just, I have been in relationship with women, with men, with persons who don't identify as either male or female. And so really it was college for me.
Yeah, I was probably 13 or 14 years old when I knew for sure that I was gay, and I still identify as gay. I what I probably knew before that was that I was unlike other people. And that when I interacted with people, they sort of seemed to know something about me already. They seemed to already know there was something different about me. And that changed how I interacted with people. And that changed how I um, felt. I actually kind of withdrew and couldn't feel like I was myself for a really long time. And I think that is one of the challenges that LGBTQ people face, is that we are all too easily sort of put in a box, and we're not able to lead our authentic selves and our authentic lives. And that's one of the joys, I think, of many of our churches in the United Church of Christ that help us to live and lead those authentic lives.
But when did you feel called, I guess, to ministry?
Similar to figuring out at some basic level that I was a lesbian in, at a very early age, I also felt a call to be in ministry at a very early age. In second grade at St. Bernadette School in a tiny town in northern Maine, I was performing communion to some stuffed animals and three of my close little, friends. And in the sacristy of the church, which really is a big no-no, and the nun came in and caught us and said I'd be banished for mortal sin to hell.
Oh.
And fortunately, again, my life has been so blessed by the right people in the right time. Father Burke came in and the nuns were like, oh my gosh, they stole the hosts out of the sacristy. They're giving communion. They're all going to go to hell. And the priest took me aside and said, why were you doing that? And I said, because when I grow up, I want to be a priest. And he said, you can't. And I said, oh, yes, I can. My dad said I can be anything I ever want to be. And he said, you can't because you're female. So I went home and I said to my dad, Father Burke lied today. And I told him the story. And my dad said, Father Burke told the truth as it is now. It is not right, but it is true that you can't be a priest because you're a girl. But by the time you grow up, I'm sure that will have changed. Well, obviously it didn't. And I left the Catholic Church and became ordained in Unity originally. And I've served in 2 Unity churches, worked at the International Unity headquarters in Lee Summit, and then found UCC and said, here we are. And I've been there, been with UCC ever since. So
it was either second or fourth grade when 2 of the kids in my class wanted to get married. And so I said I would marry them during recess on the playground. But it really wasn't until my freshman year, when I was 14 years old, that I felt like a call to ministry from God. I had been going to all the United Methodist church camps and was a small group leader and went to Bible studies and, the whole 10 yards. And at that time, I really felt like God was calling me into ministry.
Yeah, figured it out early. Also, I was 6 years old when I also grew up Catholic and went to a family reunion where one of my mother's cousins, a Catholic priest, gave a family mass. And afterward, I went to the lectionary, which is this really big, thick book that has all the readings of the church every week. And I just started reading it. And he sent me a copy of it to have myself. And so I also pretended that I was the priest at home feeding my dog, my border collie Bandit. We would have communion together. And it was just an experience where I knew from a really early age, probably before I ever had any idea that I was gay or knew anything about my sexual orientation. I knew that I had a connection to God, like we all do. And I knew that that was something special. And I wanted to pursue it.
All I got to say is y'all figure stuff out a lot quicker than I did. By the time I finally realized it, everybody in my whole family, when I said, I think I want to be a minister, they all go, well, duh. How'd that work? Your relationship to the institutional church as an LGBTQ plus person, found your way into vocational ministry.
But in 9th grade, I went to my last confession. And I thought he would say to me, get out of this church. You're going to hell. Never come back. You're worthless scum. Because that's what some of my friends' experiences had been. Well, this Franciscan said to me, Do you believe in love? And I said, yes. And he said, do you believe that God is love? And I said, yes. And he said, then if you believe in love and God is love, then how could God not love anything that is of love? And so if you love her, then you're of God, and there shouldn't really be a problem, but don't let people tell you otherwise. And I mean, it was like I flew floating on a holy golden cloud out of that confessional. And that could have gone so differently. And it did and does for so many people, but for me it didn't. And so I felt affirmed and grateful from then on, to that, whoever that angel was.
Yeah. So the United Methodist Church was very supportive of me going into ministry and gave me resources. And I went to United Methodist College and got scholarship money and was very affirmed in going in that direction until I came out. And and ironically, though, it was mostly United Methodist pastors that from within the denomination who introduced me to the Indigo Girls and were very like on the front lines of LGBTQ equality and wanting to change the United Methodist Church. And a lot of people I know stuck around for a long time to try to make those changes, but that's not the decision that I made when I first realized that's what was going to go down, and that's the situation I found myself in. And so I just immediately turned in wrote a letter to my local church pastor, resigning my membership, and found a place where I would be nurtured, which was the United Church of Christ. And so, I mean, there was some atheism in between the two because I was real mad that I thought God felt that way. And then when I realized it wasn't God, it was people, I found my way into places that would affirm my call to ministry.
Sure. Well, I also, like I said, I grew up Catholic, and when I was 18 years old, right after high school, I joined a Catholic seminary, moved to Chicago, lived in Hyde Park, where there's a lot of different seminaries from different denominations. And what is life like when you're an 18-year-old? It's a time of self-discovery and figuring out who you are and what you're all about. And I discovered pretty quickly in seminary that I wanted to be myself. I wanted to be authentically me. And the Catholic Church, unfortunately, in that seminary, they didn't want me to be authentically me. They wanted me to sort of toe the line in some ways, and they didn't want me to talk about who I am as an openly gay person. And so I was asked to leave the seminary, which was a really difficult time in my life. From being 6 years old to 18 years old, always thinking about the church. I wanted to be a priest, and to know that I couldn't be was really tough. But something really interesting happened. Justice happened, I think, in a way. 6 other seminarians, mostly straight seminary students who were living with me at the seminary, all left in protest because of the way that I was treated by the seminary. And I will never forget those men that did that took a stand and said, what is happening to me as a gay person? They didn't have those same experiences that I had. They recognized when something was not right, and they knew that they wanted to take a stand, and they did. That was such a powerful point in my life. And I don't want to bash on the Catholic Church entirely. There have been some really neat things that I've learned about prayer, about the presence of God, but I truly have felt authentically me since becoming a part of the United Church of Christ.
I think we can all agree. We're all glad you're part of our denomination, my friend. So my next question is this. So, suppose someone's out there listening today, and maybe they're maybe they're still on a journey of self-discovery, or maybe it's a person who might be an LGBTQ plus person, and maybe they're trying to discern a call to ministry. Now, you're all preachers, so we can't all preach a sermon, but what a message of hope would you send to someone that might fit that description today that might be listening?
Hey, I would say keep looking for the right place, the right fit. the right denomination, study them, ask pointed questions, and and just keep moving along, you know. And obviously, I found such a beautiful home in denominations that are really open, like Unity, and obviously the United Church of Christ. And I think another thing too to be aware of is, you know, you may find struggles trying to find the right church, but you may find struggles with your friendship circles of your LGBT supporters. I found it harder to come out as a minister to my lesbian friends than I did to, you know, come out as a lesbian to the rest of the world. But keep on going, because people will see that you represent something different than they may have experienced, and that you'll come up against their hurt. And so that can be tough too. So be aware of those two possibilities, but keep on plugging.
I would simply say pursue your passions, and if it looks like doing so is going to cost you a lot, that you're going to lose a lot, that yes, you might, but in my experience, you gain so much more on the other side, and it's worth it.
Yeah, you know, there are these videos that you can watch on YouTube called "It Gets Better," and it's all about, you know, celebrities talking about, you know, the fact that, you know, when you come out and things like that, life gets better. And there's sort of an ultimate celebrity, right, in the form of God, who says, you know, fear not, I am with you. I will uphold you and strengthen you. I will be with you always. And I think that we can sometimes forget that with the messages that we're told as LGBTQ people, that we are not worthy or that we are not listened to. But it gets better. It really does. And it gets better when you become and you recognize who you really are. And a lot of people have so many gifts. All of us have so many gifts to offer. And if you are a gay or lesbian, bisexual or transgender, queer person who feels called to ministry, there is a place for you. It might be in the UCC, it might be someplace else, but wherever you are, I mean, what's our tagline? Wherever you are on the journey, right? But there is a place for you wherever you are, and so don't be discouraged, and fear not.
This is the final question, and I think this is so super important, because even though the United Church of Christ is, as a denomination, an open and affirming denomination, you know, I know the number changes. The latest I've seen, what, about 30% of our congregations, 25, 30% of our congregations have declared an open and affirming statement, and really put in their hiring procedures that they will, you know, hire LGBTQ plus persons for any position, including pastor of the church. Why do you think it's important to the future of the church to be open to interviewing and hiring LGBTQ plus clergy?
We either are who we say we are, or we're not. And we say that no matter who you are, where you are in life's journey, you know, who you love, you're welcome here. And that is one of the most open and extended and inclusive statements that any denomination I know says everywhere. I think it's important for the congregations to know their membership and have very deep and open, honest discussions about it before they even put it out there. Okay, we're sure, we're open, and, you know, we're ready. And then have a very strong search team, you know, that works on that part of who they want to draw. So my church was not open and affirming when I came, but there are quite a few members that have family members who are LGBTQ. So there was that impetus. It came, I feel, from that impetus. One of the young men in high school at the time was on my hiring team, was on the search team. And then when I was introduced and selected, it shocked me that in front of everyone on the first day, and I don't know why it shocked me, it just resonated in my head. When the person introduced me as their candidate, they said, "This is the Reverend Dr. Shannah McAleer. She likes to go by Pastor Shan, and her wife of 25 years, Kathy Snyder." And I was just like, I looked at Kathy like, okay, well, it's going to be right up front, and that's really good and healthy, you know. And then I was voted in. And then a year later, we began open and affirming. Went through the whole process. And yet there are times when you still have to keep on the discussion because things will come up that may cause an issue for some, and some may leave. So be ready for what, not only do the work at the beginning, be open in the whole process, but you're going to keep needing to repeat the work as time goes on, and work on what that means out in the community setting. So,
Kayla, what would you say about the importance of remaining open to hiring LGBTQ plus clergy in the process?
Well, I've served 3 churches, and all 3 have been ONA, open and affirming. Um, my first church hired me for my skill set, I believe, but also because I was queer. When they took the vote and it passed almost unanimously, they were so proud of themselves because they had already recently voted to be ONA, but their fact that they voted to hire me as the associate pastor proved to themselves that they truly were. And so they were very excited. And when I got there in Rochester, Minnesota, I was the first out queer pastor in town. And so people from all over the community, not just our church, like came to me to have somebody to come out to, and looking for resources, LGBTQ resources. And so the church, because I was there, ended up having a lot of LGBTQ ministries. We founded a trans support group. We had a yearly Transgender Day of Remembrance. We had Pride Sunday worship. I was asked to speak at National Coming Out Day events. We did same gender blessings before marriages were legal. And when I arrived, I let the congregation know that I had no intentions of signing anybody's marriage license until I could sign them for everybody, which worked out because I was an associate pastor and I wasn't going to be asked to do that many weddings. But marriage equality passed while I was there. And so then I did get to do a lot of weddings, which, you know, for LGBTQ people, for straight couples, it was awesome. So yes, my presence there drew a lot of LGBTQ stuff to the church, and the church was open to that, which was great. However, the bulk of my ministry of my 6 years at that church had nothing to do with LGBTQ stuff. It was preaching and mission trips and summer camp and vacation Bible school and youth group and women's retreats and social justice stuff and young adults and blessing of animals and labyrinths and dream work and Bible study. And so the church learned that my sexuality was only one small part of me as a minister and the skill set that I brought to the church. So I would say to a church, like, yes, expect that you're going to have some LGBTQ plus stuff happening, but it's not the only thing.
One of the questions that a lot of search committees might have, or churches that are deciding to become, whether they should become open and affirming, one of the questions you might hear is, well, isn't this going to make us a gay church? Aren't we going to become the gay church in town? And I wonder, as I think about that, I really think about it, what does it mean to be a gay church, right? Is it a place of acceptance and love? Is it a place where all people's voices are being heard? Is it a place where community is happening and growth is happening? And if that's the case, it's not a gay church. You know, it's church. It's the way it's meant
right.
to be, right? And so, you know, it's that's what we want. You know, whether your clergy person is LGBTQ or not, or whether you're open and firm, we all want this place of love and community and growth. And the way to get there, the way to do that is to really work hard on including all people and making a church a place where all people feel comfortable to come and to worship and to make friendships. So I would be open to it. I mean, just think about what life is like when you are free and open. That's the kind of world that we want to have. And so making it official with open and affirming, or taking the step to welcome an LGBTQ pastor, those are real things that you can do to bring what we call, a lot of people in the United Church of Christ call the kingdom, right? The kingdom of God on earth. Make it happen. This is a great way to do it.
Imagine that.
Amen.
You
Amen.
know, imagine that. So thank you all so much. We could go on forever. And by the way, any of you, I would be proud to call my pastor, and I'm proud to call you my friends. And I'm happy to have had your powerful voices here today to share your stories with us. So we say thank you so much, not just for this, but for your presence, for your ministry, for your friendship, all of it. I love you all. And thanks for being here and being a part of our Pride Sunday.
Thank you,
Thank you.
David.
Happy
Appreciate
Pride.
it very much. Happy
Happy Pride.
Pride, everybody.
Bye.